What is up, everyone? Welcome back to some more of the Shell Part 2. In the previous recording session, we finally saw Reiji and Masaki go to Hitogata. Masaki was reunited with his family. It was all very awkward. Then yet another murder happened, but the Hinagamis are trying to really distance themselves from that one. They seem to have accepted the other three murders, right? Mayu, Miski, and Megari. They didn't seem to have any qualms about those ones because when this fourth murder happened, all of a sudden they're like, no, this wasn't worth the curse. They were like trying to sabotage evidence. They were trying to destroy evidence. They were trying to like cover it up as best they could. And they're just like, oh, no. This wasn't the work of the curse. So seeming to imply that they do fully claim the previous three as part of the curse. Interesting. But yeah, the fourth murder happened, which was Yuka, which was very unfortunate. But apparently she wasn't supposed to die. I guess is the implication there. There was some kind of mix-up because we learned that Nanako. Well, no, we knew that Nanako had been a mediator for Shizuru and the potential bridal candidates. But I think it was after Megari's that he stopped telling even her. And then we learned from the patriarch of the Hinagamis that only he and Shizuru are the only two that currently know who the next bridal candidate is, which I think is why they're implying that Yuka's death was a mistake. Also, they said that Yuka could never possibly be a bridal candidate. So someone had said that at some point. She never possessed the right qualifications, which led me to believe that she might be a secret love child of Shizuru and that she's actually has blood relations to the family, because we know that they're willing to go for Mizuki Itose, who wasn't anyone of note. She was someone who lived, I think she lived, from what I remember, she lived in a very poor part of town. Didn't really have much to her name, essentially. She was, and obviously we know she was the member of Senri. Um, what else went down? What else? Anything of note? I know Reiji and Inui were like working pretty close together, like swapping information as best they could. I know that's right. Before they left, Mosky wanted Reiji to dig up the body parts, but Reiji's like, "There's no way they'll take their eyes off me." So he then tells Inui to go dig up the body parts, Satsuki's limbs, to try to corroborate Masaki's story. We haven't heard anything back on that. We know that Masaki did come home first before Eiji, so he could give soil samples to Yaginuma in the hopes that's gonna like prove something major. We'll see. We also learned that Nanako was abused by her father in more ways than one, and that she had a severe case of codependency, which led me to believe that, well, I don't know. There's a lot of working theories in my head. I forget how I phrased it last time, but essentially, right, what I figured, I don't quite know where I actually stand now that I think back on it. Because what I was assuming while Nanako was the mediator is that she was having relations with Shizuru, because we all know he's a horn dog, and he likes to throw dick like darts. Ain't no thing. And then somehow Karen's involved. I'm still on that somehow Karen's involved. I think that's the main reason why these bridal candidates are being targeted. Because Karen has some weird ass feelings in her heart, and I feel like she's being vengeful about it. I think the one thing I couldn't quite decide on is who the actual killer was. But I think I'm leaning more towards Nanako being the actual killer. But we also know with Megari, it wasn't possible for Nanako to be the killer. So I do think my working theory was that they were switching back and forth. That they were switching who killed the next target, right? Because I strongly believe that Karen is involved in this. I wasn't sure if she was directly involved, as in she was brought into the fold and she was supposed to know things. I theorized potentially she was blackmailing either Shizuru or Nanako, more likely Nanako because she has the severe codependency issues. Anyway, all that aside, where we last left off, Reiji gave Masaki instructions to go to the shrine since it is New Year's Day in the hopes of investigating and digging up some dirt on the Blessed Congregation. So without further ado, let's jump back into that, shall we? Masaki made his way through the crowds of Inokashira Park. He'd gone to investigate the nearby shrine owned by the Blessed Congregation, only to find the area packed with citizens making their first shrine visit of the year, just as he'd expected. That was only natural, seeing as how a famous Benzaiten shrine was also nearby. Still, Masaki didn't know where to even begin. Just because the Blessed Congregation had bought the shrine the crowd was headed for, didn't mean everyone visiting was one of their followers. Barely anyone cared what deity their destination of choice worshipped, be it a shrine or temple. People were generally apathetic toward religion, and that view hadn't changed over the years. Masaki looked past the crowd to the shrine on the other side. Unsurprisingly, it looked no different from any other one he'd ever seen. Masaki didn't know a thing about the Blessed Congregation's creed. As such, it was hard for him to spot anything out of the ordinary. If there was something, though, it would probably be a belief in Lord Hina. The founder of the Congregation of the Blessed and Senri, the Blessed Congregation's predecessors, had been Michiya Shigesa, a former member of the Shigesas from Hitogata. Thus, the Reiji had suggested their dogma probably shared some things in common. But honestly, Masaki wasn't too familiar with the Shigesa Shrine's dogma. He probably would have been taught it had he stayed in Hitogata, but he'd gone off to war instead. So alas, he only knew about that which he'd been told as a child, Lord Hina. He couldn't imagine the Blessed Congregation had bought some random shrine outside Hitogata and enshrined Lord Hina there, though. Ara? A familiar voice snapped Masaki out of his musings. Yukari? Yeah. Because we did know that Yukari had come here with her friends.
Oh, omedetou.
It was Yukari. Two girls from yesterday were also with her. Fuck you.
正木さんも初詣ですか？まあ、似たようなものかな。
He didn't personally follow that costume, but he couldn't very well explain his true reasons.
確か君の家の近くにも大きな神社があったと思うけど、どう？茅原さんがこちらの方に住んでいて、ここへお参りしたいとのことでしたので。
Masaki knew from last night that Yukiko lived near Musashi Sakai. Goddamn. So many syllables. While that was indeed the area, it still seemed a little too far away.
ねえ、ユキコちゃん、冬休みの課題はやった？まだ少し残ってるけど。終わったら写させてくれる？
No, fuck you.
でもまだ時間もあるし。
Yeah, let her know, Yukiko.
そうですよ、小羽。
Yeah, let her know, Yukari. Yukari threw the stuttering Yukiko a lifeline.
ほら。できなかった時の保険として当てを確保しておいた方がいいと思って。ゆかりっちも終わってるわよね。
They're both pretty much done. What the fuck's your excuse, lazy ass?
見せませんよ。
Yeah. Yukari flatly shut Kohane down with a smile.
そんなこと言わないでさ。できてないところだけでいいから。
No, fuck you.
どこまでできているのですか？数学の最初の1問は解いたわよ。 そのくらいだとは思ってましたけど。 最初の答えって3だよね。 因数分解の問題だったはずです
が。Yukari heaved the mother of all sighs.
君はどうしてこの神社へ参ろうと思ったんだい？
Masaki turned to Yukiko.
それはお参りするならしなさいと。
Interesting.
何かご利益があるのかな？
Yeah, what does your mother know? Tell me about your mother. He feigned ignorance and kept up the heat.
さあ、それは。
Yukiko suddenly turned around. Masaki followed suit and found Huyumi examining a stall.
母に聞いてください。
I mean, I didn't know she was here, but alright, yeah, sure. Knowing Huyumi could have very well been that she just came because the place was packed with stalls.
あ、
人の紐の人
You're the gigolo's gigolo. Classic. Fumi scrutinized Masaki as if he were a rare animal at a zoo. He had to admit, he did feel like he was living a gigolo's life in recent days. He hadn't the slightest idea where Fumi was getting the second gigolo from.
いや違います、まさきです。そうそう、そんな感じの人でした。
She seemed like a totally different person from the night before. This is more like the Fumi Kayahara he'd heard about. At least if Hideji hadn't been messing with him.
リンゴ飴食べます？
Fumi suddenly shoved a glistening red orb into Masaki's face.
いや、自分は結構です。甘くて美味しいわよ。
Fumi took a bite out of the candied apple.
娘さんたちに買ってあげてくださいよ。この子甘いものも苦手なのよ。ね
Yukiko timidly nodded.
ねえねえゆかりっち、あっちのたこ焼き食べてみない？
Shut up. Thought I gestured to another stall.
そうですね、行ってみましょうか。茅原さんもどうぞ。
Yukiko shot Fumi a glance before joining her friends.
茅原さんもついていてあげてください。あなたは？
Fumi cocked her head, the candied apple still firmly in her grasp.
自分はやることがありますから、これで失礼します。わかりました。では、今年もよろしくお願いいたしますね。あ、ええ。
Fumi followed Yukiko. Masaki wouldn't have minded joining them, but unfortunately he had work to do. He had no doubt Reiji would have a new barrage of verbal abuse in store for him if he abandoned his task, along with an even more degrading nickname than Nitwit to boot. But much as he wanted to do his job, he didn't even know where to begin. All the people around him appeared to be ordinary citizens with no ties to the Blessed Congregation. However, Reiji had mentioned that the high-ranked clergymen wore white robes. So that if the Blessed Congregation did own this shrine, it stood to reason they'd have at least one such believer around. Masaki went to the top of some nearby stairs and stood on his tiptoes to get a better look at the whole area. White robe, white robe. Oh, found one. Even though he didn't know exactly what it looked like, there was no mistaking it. It was the kind of robe an average Joe would never be caught dead in. That speck of white stood out like a sore thumb in the sea of black and gray coats, meaning there was no way Masaki could lose sight of them. Thus he weaved his way over through the crowds. Strike up a conversation with them? No, should probably just observe for now. Remember what Tokisaka said, don't get impatient if you want real results. Simply memorize what they look like and sound them out. Masaki approached the robed figure, kept his head low, spying on them while taking care not to make eye contact. However... Kensei? Oh, the robed man called out to him first. Eh? Naori? No shit. He had long black hair and the face of a man who'd seen much in life.
まさか、なおちゃん。
No shit. Okay. It was indeed Naori Kuroya. Ayato Hinagami's cousin and friend since birth was right there in the flesh, garbed in those white robes.
やっぱりリヒトか。懐かしいな。
Naori grinned amiably. Despite his bizarre choice of attire, his smile hadn't changed a bit.
なおちゃん、その格好は？
Yeah, when did you become religious? Masaki blurted out the first thing that popped into his head. He had so many questions for Naori, his appearance was what struck him as the most odd at the moment.
ああ、これかい。汚れやすくて困ってるんだけどね。ここでの正式な衣装らしいんだよ。
衣装？この神社のかい？
まあ、ここの神社。
Naori's lips curled to a self-effacing smile. I have it in now. Normally, Masaki would have been rejoicing at the reunion. But since he'd been told to keep his cool, his thoughts had turned straight to his mission instead.
今は俺も仕事中だから、また明日にでも会おう。
ああ、構わないよ。
However, Masaki's door shut just as soon as he'd found it.
何の仕事をしているんだい？
今は列整理だよ。普段は医者だけれどね。
そうなんだ。
Masaki nodded, pretending he hadn't noticed how odd that sounded.
じゃあ、また明日。
ああ、楽しみにしているよ。
Naori shot Masaki one last smile before the latter left. Now as an acolyte of the Blessed Congregation, and a high-ranking one at that, I'm almost sure of it. But why, though? Why did he join up with them? What happened to him after he came to the city? And Unfortunately, Masuki didn't have enough information on Naori to make an educated guess. Honestly, that took me by surprise too. Like I figured we were gonna run into him eventually, but that is not how I was expecting to run into him for sure. Like, oh, he's a member of the Blessed Congregation, a high-ranking one at that. Interesting. I don't know what to make of that. It's not like Naori from the flashbacks, if I remember correctly, was particularly like anti-religion or anything, so it's not like, oh, he would never do that. But because the Blessed Congregation would technically be an offshoot of the Shiga's Shrine, but it's one they don't talk about. It's one they don't like to, fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? It's one they don't want to be connected to, I guess, is in a sense. There's a certain word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it. So it's interesting that Naori would end up joining that branch, that section. Would he just assume that because it was an offshoot at one point that it was okay? Does he have ulterior motives? Is he, you know, working for one of the other people within Hitogata? Maybe his dad, maybe his uncle. I don't know. I knew when we found Naori there'd be questions, but damn, I was not expecting it to hit me like this. Left the Kajiki residence and walked through the park, away from the hustle and bustle surrounding the Benzaiten shrine. The gentle breeze carried the savory scent of food stalls from across the pond. I'm hungry. Yukari had made me some New Year's soup for breakfast, but I hadn't had enough rice. Well, I'd assumed 2 servings of that would have been enough. Apparently I thought wrong. That said, it would have been a pain to go check out the stalls on the opposite side of the pond. Thus I headed for the station, figuring I'd stop at Moonworld or something. Hell yeah. Oh wait, this has been Reiji. So a familiar face seated atop a bench near the edge of the pond. There was no way I would recognize her after the 2 of us had spent a whole train ride together just a day ago. Nanako, okay. I had to stop and think, like, who the fuck were you on a train with? That's right. Masuki went back to Tokyo with Karen, and then Reiji went back to Tokyo with Nanako.
明けましておめでとうございます。沢城さん。
あ、時坂さん。明けましておめでとうございます。
Nanako turned to me, a baby in her arms.
その子は
娘です。と言っても、私が産んだわけじゃありませんが。
Interesting. Though unconsciously grabbing Nanako's finger, the baby was out like a log, possibly due to the relatively warm sunlight on an otherwise cold day.
私は子供が産めない体ですから。
Oh. Is that something you have in common with Karen then? Did y'all bond over that or something? So why is this just like everyone close to the story fucking infertile? Don't tell me you're some kind of sick family. Well, I guess your dad did do things to you. But it's like, Chizuru was a brother fucker who ended up being infertile. Karen's a wannabe brother fucker who's infertile. Nanako didn't really have a choice in her situation, and now, but still, she ended up infertile. Like, how many more? How many more people are gonna come forward and be like, yeah, so anyway, I'm infertile? I'm like, god damn, another one? Because this is the 3rd strike. This is 3. This is 3 now. Well, that was a familiar tale, right? So she's just like Chizuru, huh? As well as Karen Hinagami, huh?
いえ、そういった手続きはしていません。まだ結婚もしていませんし。
Suddenly the baby's eyes opened ever so slightly.
あら、起きちゃった。
Nanako smiled at the baby as she adjusted her grip.
まだお眠かしら。
She slowly rocked the baby, soothing her all the while. As a result, what looked like a tantrum in the making never came.
子供は苦手ですか？
Nanako's unexpected question snapped me back to my senses.
そう見えますか。
ええ、口数が減っ ったような気がしましたから。
I couldn't deny that.
どう接したらいいかわかんないんですよ。
そのままでいいと思いますよ。子供はずっと賢い。
Baby girl looked up at me with curious eyes.
なんだい
Crouched down and looked at her in the eye. Baby reached out to me.
あら、そっちに行きた。
Wait, what?
いや、扱い方も心得ていない。
心配しなくても大丈夫ですよ。
Just like that, she handed the baby over to me. Baby's weight settled into my arms. She was a lot heavier than I was expecting. Baby beamed at me.
あら、珍しい。この子はあまり人に懐かないんですよ。すぐぐずると思ったんですが。
Okay. Is that same baby that was at Fimi's nursery that she works at? Because if so, is this secretly the baby of Toko? And if so, why would Nanako have that baby? Hey Reiji, I think you should ask what happened to the parents.
それなのにこっちへ預けたんですか。
そう心配することじゃありませんよ。
確かに体力を使いそうですかね。
Yeah, this baby girl just grinned and innocently grabbed my tie. Hey kid, you're kinda choking here.
今の同居人にはあまり懐いていないんで
Who's
すよ。
your roommate?
同居人
結婚はしていないんですが、
Nanako looked at the baby.
この子のことも大切に思ってくれていますから、嫌っていることはないと思いますけれど。
Is it Naori? Because clearly a doctor would have had to bring the baby. Well, not necessarily, but. No, she spoke seemed to indicate that this baby wasn't her roommate's either.
病院でのお仕事もあるでしょうし。
でもこの子と一緒にいら
I
れ
leave
る
her at a nursery when I'm at work. Yep, okay.
病院の
It is the same baby. It is 100% the same
保育所に預けて
baby.
いますし、
It's the baby that warmed up to Yukari as well. Also warmed up to Reiji, which kind of leaves us to believe whose baby that is. So the question is, how did Nanako and Naori come to have it? Because I'm just going to go ahead and assume Naori. Just going to go ahead and assume that. Because they were always so close when they were younger and whatnot. I'm just going to assume Naori's the roommate. They're both in Tokyo. So that's the thing, at some point. Right, and then. So we do know that Naori wanted to be a writer, right? And then we know that new Shin Kasaragi book recently came out, right? But everyone was saying like, oh, it's nothing like the first book. It's nothing like the previous one that had come before it, right? So now. It leads me to believe that somehow Naori came across Shinji Mamiya. He delivered the baby and took the baby. I'm guessing Shinji Mamiya left with Toko. Like, Shinji didn't want the baby wasn't his, he didn't care about it. But somehow he came across Naori, who delivered the baby safely. And he and Nanako have been taking care of it. And yes, because I can't imagine these two, Naori and Nanako, would hold on to Toko for any reason. Like, what? I think the real question is, how did Shinji Mamiya cross paths with them then? How did he cross paths with them? What led to that happening?
なるほどね。
今日は夜勤があるのでその子をまた預けないといけないんです。
大変ですね。
それでも一人にしておけませんから。これから近くの喫茶店で。
Uh-oh. Does she mean?
月世界という喫茶店なんですけど。
ええ、まあ。
It was practically my home away from home. The place had only one regular who worked at a nursery that I could think of. Well, I need to go there to wish Kyoko a Happy New Year, so I may as well just bite the bullet.
お供しますよ。 ずっとこの子を抱いたままでは大変で。
そうですか。ありがとうございます。
And so I followed her toward Kichijoji Station, dreading what remarks Kyoko would have at my expense this time. Hell yeah.
いらっしゃい。
Kyoko turned around only to cock her head the moment she saw me.
明けましておめでとう。
ええ、おめでとう。
She stared wide-eyed at the thing in my arms as if she'd seen an alien walk into her cafe. A justifiable reaction, really.
その子は？
いや、そこで会った知り合いの子でな。ちょっと頼まれて預かってるだけだよ。
I'd merely gone on ahead at Nanako's urging after she stopped at a nearby phone booth to make a call.
そうなんだ。
それ以外にどんな考え？
別に時坂くんの子供とかなんて思ってないわよ。
Even though it actually is.
いきなりできるもんじゃないだろう。
隠し子がいても不思議じゃないし。
ねえよ。
Thankfully, Nanako chose that moment to show up, put an end to this trite vaudeville routine.
預かってもらっちゃってごめんなさい。
いえ、構いませんよ。
I handed the sleeping baby over to Nanako and took off my coat.
沢城さんのところの赤ちゃんだったのね。
知り合いだったのか。
ええ、うちの常連だもの。
Kyoko stared at the sleeping baby with great interest.
どうした？
ずいぶんと懐いていたわね。私なんて抱いた途端に泣かれちゃったわよ。
お前の方が抱かれていても安心できそうだけどな。
Particularly in the chest area. Not gonna lie, I was about to say the same thing.
熱いコーヒーを入れてあげるわね。
Hey, that was meant to be a compliment.
ほんと、よく寝てるわね。
Nanako sat on a nearby stool as she held her baby.
寝る子は育つと言いますからね。
お前もよく寝てたんだろ。
Oh, Christ, Reiji.
苦いコーヒーにしてあげるわね。
Sheesh, what's Kyoko's problem? Why is she in such a bad mood? It's my fault, isn't it? It's totally my fault.
この子はもともと成長が遅れていますからね。
生後何ヶ月なんですか？
何ヶ月に見えます？
Suddenly the tables were turned on me. Okay, hold up. Give me a moment. Wait, no. She's just about a year old. We do know this, because Fuyumi said as much.
子供の成長なんてよくわかりませんが。
Oh, pull your.
これでも1歳を過ぎているんですよ。
そうなんですか。
普通の子だと1歳になれば体重も10キロ近くになるんですが。
The baby snoozed away in Anako's arms. I thought all babies were walking and talking by the time they turned one, but it seemed things weren't always quite that simple.
はい、熱くて苦いコーヒーどうぞ。
Kyoko brought over some coffee.
お前。あ、
That said, it was ordinary coffee from what I could tell, so I wasn't actually worried.
こちらは普通のコーヒーね。ありがとうございます。
And again, it never hurt to be careful. I usually had black coffee. I wasn't a huge fan of the bitterness particular to espressos. Thus, I brought the sugar bowl over and grabbed the coffee cup. The handle was warm. I nervously took a sip.
なんだ。
Warmth was just right, and it was no more or less bitter than usual.
お客さんに妙なものは出せないわよ。
Wise decision. Suddenly, the door opened.
はずきちゃん、明けましておめでとう。
Oh, I love the way you speak.
あら、冬美さん。
The culprit turned out to be Huimi. Surprise, surprise.
あら、さっき妹さんに会ったわよ。
そちらの娘さんと一緒に初詣に行くとか言ってましたからね。ともあれ、明けましておめでとうございます。
おめでとう。沢城さんも今年もよろしくお願いしますね。ええ、こちらこそお世話になります。
We'll exchange New Year's greetings.
沢城さん、この人とお知り合いなんですか？
Huimi dramatically pointed at me. What did she think she was, a lawyer?
まあ、病院でちょっとね。
Nanako kept things vague, probably determining that the less Fumi knew, the better.
病院で。ああ、
Fumi gave me a sympathetic tap on the shoulder after her face lit up in comprehension.
立たなくなっても頑張って生きるのよ。
Yeah, I knew she was going there.
なんでそんなことになってるんですか？
え、違うの？
Why the hell is she looking at Kyoko?
私に聞かれても。
Come on, back me up here, Kyoko. Kyoko turned away.
共通の知り合いが入院していただけですよ。
なんだそういうことか。
Seemed convinced Toyomi.
ところで2人とも明日のデパートの初売りに行くつもりある？
And just like that, she changed the topic.
夜勤明けはちょっと。お店があるから難しいわね。
そっか、やっぱりね。
何か売り出されているの？
洋服なんだけどね。毎年初売りは行列ができるらしくて、前日の夜から並ばないといけないとからしいわよ。
新宿も銀座もそんな感じなのかしらね。
I couldn't keep up with this discussion. I hastily drank my coffee with gusto, deciding not to get involved. Feared that I'd be roped into lining up from dusk to dawn if I betrayed even the slightest interest.
なんだかそこの人が露骨に視線をそらしてるんだけど。
Fuck you.
さすがに服を買ってきてとは言えないわよ。
でも列に並んでもらって場所取りだけだったらできるわよね。
それはあまりにもかわいそうだと思うけど。あ、いらっしゃいませ。
Another customer strolled in. I glanced at them, gasped quietly. Saying there was a man with a white stand-up collar. That's a blessed congregation robe. Recognize one anywhere.
ナナコ
Man called Nanako's name.
ナオリさん。
Naori. See, Naori Kuroya? Took a peek at his face. Lo and behold, he did indeed look like an older version of the boy I'd seen in Shizuda's photos.
時坂さん、
Nanako's voice snapped my attention back to her.
こちら黒谷ナオリさんです。
Yeah, I know.
あなたが時作さんですか。どうもナナコがお世話になったようで。
Sure. I don't know what the fuck I did to help, but alright. Naori Kuroya bowed to me. For help, huh? That wording suggests Nanako had likely told him all about me.
時坂礼二探偵です。黒谷委員の息子さんですよね。
I was trying to pretend I was something I wasn't would have been fruitless.
よくご存知で。
Naori grinned. The smile didn't reach his
あな
eyes.
たは帰省なさらなかったのですか。
仕事が忙しくてそれどころではありませんでした。
Work, huh?
何のお仕事をされているのですか。
Man, I wasn't even trying to be subtle, was I?
とある団体で嘱託医のようなことをしています。
Okay. I guess they must pay quite handsomely then. So we claim, but I couldn't imagine the blessed congregation would simply hand out those robes to some hired help. Yeah.
今日のお勤めは終わりですか？
ああ、明日は休みだけれど昼過ぎに珍しい客が来るから。
Nanako rose to her feet and handed off the baby to Fuyumi.
それではよろしくお願いします。
しっかり預からせていただきます。
あ、そうそう。時坂さんもその子を上手に扱えるのよ。
へえ、やっぱり兄弟だからかしら。
何がですか。
What was the following?
年の暮れに保育所の手伝いを頼んだ時、妹さんもこの子を上手にあやしてくれていたのよ。
は
I hadn't really done anything special to make her like me, though. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
それではよろしくお願いします。
Yeah, that's crazy.
失礼します。
Pair left Moonworld.
うちが忙しくなったらこの子をそちらに預けちゃうってのもあるよね。
Yeah, no, that's not happening. Unfortunately, the baby started making a fuss before I could complete that train of thought.
ああ、ほら、あやしてあやして。
無茶を言わないでくださいよ。
Despite my complaints, I rocked the baby to try to calm her down after Fumi handed her to me. However, she didn't stop crying.
はずきちゃん、ぬるめのお湯を用意してくれる？
Amy took out a package of powdered milk in the meantime.
はい、どうぞ。
赤ちゃんは泣くことで意思を表すからね。おもらしをした時はもう少し違う泣き方をするのよ。
I unconsciously put some distance between me and the baby.
だから心配しなくても大丈夫よ。はい、これあげて。
Amy poured the water and powdered milk into a baby bottle before passing it to me.
普通に加えさせればいいんだよな。
あなたが加えてどうするのよ。
Har har har.
はずきちゃんの加えてるからいいのか。
God, I love you, Fumi. I had placed a good number of crazy murderers behind bars, but only a handful had made me want to shut them up as much as this woman. Oh, God, I love
それじゃまた今度ね。
Amy left the cafe with the baby in her arms. Just like that, the whole room went quiet. Kyoko sighed.
どこか悪いのか？
Weird. She looks kinda down.
そんなことないわよ。
However, she simply nodded as she batted my question away. And again, she was always the type to keep her pain hidden behind a facade.
コーヒーのおかわりいる？
ああ、もらおうか。
Kyoko turned around and started brewing up a cup of joe.
なに？
She replied without turning
何
around.
か悩みでもあるのか？
Then stopped her dead in her tracks for a second.
何のこと？
Kyoko faced me with a puzzled look on her visage. She was trying to act like nothing was wrong, that I was reading too deep into things, but I wasn't so easily fooled.
何でも相談してくれて構わないんだぞ。
別に何もないわよ。
本当に？
ええ。はい、どうぞ。
The cup was filled to the brim. That settled it. She was definitely worried about something.
正月くらい休んだらどうだ？
そうも言ってられないのよ。
どうして？
お家賃が上がったのよ。
Kyoko finally confessed the truth with a sigh.
今までも融資を受けたりして結構ギリギリだったんだけど。
She exited the counter and slumped in the stool next to me. I understood her pain. This cafe had been her late husband's after all.
疲れちゃっ
Kyoko leaned her head against my
なあ
shoulder.
京子、
た。何？
She looked over at me. I knew what I should say, but I couldn't. Oh, it wasn't an offer that could be made so spontaneously after all.
時坂くんに負担はかけられないわよ。
Kyoko's voice was hushed.
俺は構わないんだが。
ダメよ。私が弱くなっちゃう。
She took my hand into her
う
own.
ちで一緒に暮らすか？
Suddenly, she pinched the back of my hand.
ありがとう。でもまだもう少し待って。
Kyoko got up.
できる限り頑張ってみるから。だから時坂くんも自分のできることを頑張って。
まあ、
I still had to correct this case. Then I'd go find Toko. Otherwise, I'd never be able to rest. I returned to my room after taking my first bath of the new year, only to find New Year's cards stacked on the table. Then again, there weren't a ton, so maybe stacked was an exaggeration. Still, I'd gotten a lot from people I'd been involved with through work. Only natural, really. Some of them had been addressed to my office in Shinjuku, meaning Masaki or Yukari must have brought them
お
over.
魚住からか。
Oh, hell yeah. He'd sent one all the way from his current post. Inside were simply the words Happy New Year in crappy handwriting. Classic Uozumi. And that was literally all there was to it, too. No personal message or anything. You do realize they give you all that blank space for a reason, don't you? Suddenly I wondered what he'd sent to Kyoko. Knowing him, he'd very likely tried to write something personal, only to chicken out in the end. I'll just have to ask Kyoko the next time I see her. Speaking of, there was a card from her, too. It had a picture of a dog with a standard New Year's greeting inside. Alright, this is the year of the dog. Totally slipped my mind. That's because I let Yukari handle all the cards. She'd also written a personal message. Here's to doing our best again this year. It made me feel kind of awkward considering what had happened earlier today. Ultimately, I did my best to forget it and moved on. The next card was from Shugo Takashiro. It had been mailed from Zushi Kanagawa. Inside was the typical Happy New Year, followed by a note so long that he'd written really tiny to fit it all. Hell yeah. Things have been really tough now that my daughter's 1 and walking, but you know, hearing her talk and call me daddy just melts my heart, so I stopped reading there before I went to a diabetic coma. At least his wife and kids sound healthy. Guess I don't need to worry about them. The only real problem was the man of the house's profession, probably. However, that wasn't my concern. The next card was also addressed from Takashiro. Natsume! However, this one had been sent from the Takashiro clinic, meaning Natsume. She must have used a potato stamp so it didn't come out backwards as year new. Fuck yeah. Furthermore, it seems she'd cut corners, not even bothered adding in a happy or anything like that. Terrified me that we had something in common. The next one was from the Kachikis. Their Happy New Year had been written elegantly with a brush. It also came with the message, thank you kindly for all your assistance last year. Pretty run-of-the-mill as far as the New Year's cards went. Both Fumiya and Chizuru had signed their names. However, Toko's wasn't anywhere to be found. Well, duh. How the fuck's she gonna sign her name? She doesn't have arms, stupid. Other than the obvious, you know, she's not here, but also... that was only natural, but it still made my heart ache for a moment. I checked the next card. This one had been sent to my office. The sender was Roichi Yaginuma, forget that's his name. Oh, yeah, guess I never did tell him my home address. The card itself featured a bland design that was likely courtesy of the MPD. Naturally, it contained no personal message. What, no witty insults? You're off your game, Yaginuma. Whatever. Next. The following card had a name I didn't recognize. The back read, "Thank you very much for your exceptional patronage last year." That still didn't ring any bells. Patronage. All I can think of is it was the orphanage? But then there was the hotel he visited with Toko?
なあ、ゆかり。
Called just the living room.
どうかしましたか？
この人、覚えあるか？
You could scan the card in question.
いいえ、存じ上げておりませんが。
仕事であれば忘れることはないんだがな。
住所から何かわかりませんか？
とは言ってもな。
All it said was, Bueno Station. That's interesting. Takoyaki Man? Even though I don't think Reiji ever interacted with Takoyaki Man?
上野駅の駅員さんでしょうか？
さすがにそんなところに知り合いはいないしな。
Takoyaki Man? It's kind of creepy, but all I could really do was ignore it.
悪かったな、ゆかり。もう寝るんだろ？
ええ。おやすみなさいませ。
You could have left those words behind as she retired for the night. Guess I'd better hit the hay as well. I put that mysterious New Year's card from one Daisaku Arata on my desk and slipped under my covers. Yep, that's Takoyaki Man. Yep. Hell yeah, Takoyaki Man. January 2nd, 10 a.m. School relay race was playing on the radio. From what I could tell, Tatsuka had passed Yokohama and taken the lead. Meanwhile, I was stumped over what to do with the mountain of rice cakes before me.
なんでこんなに餅があるんだよ。
お隣さんからいただいたんですよ。うちでは餅つきもしていませんからね。
くれるのはありがたいが、二人でこんなにいらんだろう。
I've gone over several simulations of how to get through them, but they all ended with a ton left uneaten.
とりあえず、お醤油と海苔をお持ちしますか？
Wait, did she just make a pun? A better per rice cake. Nah, must be hearing things.
磯辺餅もいいが、きなこ餅も食いたいな。
日本人なら五平餅だろ。あの味噌だれを炙った感じが最高だぞ。
うん、わかったから。勝手に家に上がり込むな、当時。
Nah, keep doing that. I love it. Besides, there aren't even gohei rice cakes.
すまない。少し熱くなってしまった。
Toji Aoki greeted us while completely sweeping her felony under the rug.
ああ、今年もよろしくな。
先日はどうもありがとうございました。
Yukuri bowed.
これは土産だ。
Toji placed a bottle on the table.
日本酒か？
ああ。味噌がうまい地方は米がいいからな。
Well, they didn't bring miso shochu or something like that.
それと、例の件を少しだけ調べてみる。
Toji looked dead into my eyes.
私は席を外しますね。
Yukuri vanished into the kitchen, possibly sensing that the mood had changed.
よくできた妹さんだな。
できすぎてたまに困るよ。で、何か分かったのか？
出版社も年末年始と休みだからな。ろくに情報は集まっていない。原稿が投函された飯倉町にも行ってみたが。
郵政省のお膝元だろう。
ああ、一応近所で聞き込みもしてみたが、半年前のことだから。
誰か別人が投函した可能性もあるからな。
私もその可能性の方が高いと感じている。しかしそうなるとかくまっている人間がいることになる。
あれだけ顔がいいんだ。女だったら放っておかないだろうさ。
私の好みではないから何とも言えんな。
じゃあどんなのが好みだ？
少なくともお前ではないから安心しろ。話がそれたな。確かに女がかくまっているという可能性はあるが。
I shook my head after pondering the question for a moment. It was literally impossible for Toko to be sheltering him. No one couldn't so much as eat without someone's help anymore.
奴に関わりがある人間は徹底的に洗ってある。
そうなると事件とは直接関わりがない人間か。難しいな。
どうだろうな。案外人ってのは自分に関係のないニュースは聞いていないもんだぞ。
確かにな。
Doji nodded.
本当に桂木慎がその小説を書いたのかもわからない。
Well, we knew it could have been the work of a plagiarist who decided to ride the hype wave for kicks. Kinda what I'm thinking. But the novel did resemble the egg of Neonis from what I had skimmed.
来週の月曜6日には出版社に行って直筆の原稿を預かってくるつもりだ。
出版社では鑑定していないのか。
もともと桂木慎と関わりがなかったところだから筆跡もわからなかったそうだ。
She hit the bullseye. The police did indeed have the Sheol Part 2 manuscript I found in his office.
それと照らし合わせれば少なくとも本人が書いたものかどうかは
Yeah,
は
but
っき
that's
りする
4
わ。
days away. So
そう
much
いう
could
ことだ。
happen in that time.
あとこっちは別件になるが被害者の糸瀬瑞希彼女の父親がひな神製薬に絡んでいる可能性が高い。
どういうことだ。
Hideyome Hinagami told me back in Hidagata that Mizuki Itose had been one of Masaki's bridal candidates. I suspected the connection had something to do with Hinagami Pharmaceuticals. Turned out I'd been right on the money.
こちらで調べたところ糸瀬瑞希の父親糸瀬悟はひな神製薬の元社員だ。
詳しい内容は。
詳細はまだ話せない。口止めされているんでな。
ヤギ沼か。
Doji didn't respond. However, his silence was all I needed to paint the full picture.
実家の家業について漏れるのを危惧していたようだ。
I had to guess he wanted to keep Masaki in the dark. Though honestly, I didn't think Masaki was dumb enough to blab. Probably anyway.
こちらの件にも関わることについては公開して構わないと言われているんだな。
わかった。
I knew painfully well just how hard it was to build trust. Thus, I convinced myself this information wasn't essential to the case for the time being. Yukari peeked out of the kitchen as though she'd sensed our talk had come to an end.
青木さん、お雑煮をお召し上がりになられますか？
そうだな。目の前の餅も気になっていたし、せっかくだからいただいていくか。
Doji suddenly took a bag out of her pocket.
ちょうどここに最強味噌がある。餅も丸餅だし、京都の雑煮を作ってやろう。
本当ですか？
八つ頭はあるか？それとだ。
普通の里芋でしたら用意はありますよ。
The two chattered as they headed into the kitchen. No, Reiji, don't bother questioning why she's going around with miso in her pocket. Just end up lamenting the loss of time and brain cells. Don't question it, alright? She's amazing, that's all you need to know.